Death Battle's not back from its mid-season break yet, but I figured I'd do this anyway, since I'd rather do two smaller and more digestible reviews, rather than another half-hour long one like with Steven vs. Star. While we wait on Batman's fourth Death Battle, which will be getting its own video upon its release, I'm gonna review his first three and see if they still hold up all these years later. Not much more to it than that, let's just get right into it.
Oh no, a spider!
I covered Batman vs. Spider-Man fairly recently. It's my second favourite episode of Season 1. The bar wasn't super high for that, but it still holds that title. My thoughts on the episode are still the exact same as they were on my Season 1 ranking, since it hasn't even been a month since I watched it again for that. I said basically everything I wanted to say there. Analysis is good, fight is fast and fluid, the death's godlike, it's all great. I wish that it wasn't another case of the winner getting bodied until the last 10 seconds, but oh well. If you want more elaboration, then go watch that segment in my Season 1 ranking, I got nothing new to add here. 8 out of 10, good stuff. Hopefully it can only go up from here.
No, I don't think I will.
It did not. Batman vs. Captain America is a pretty standard cape jet episode that I am not too keen on. The analysis is a mixed bag, which I can't show any footage from because it's been copyright blocked in the UK. I didn't care for Batman's, except for Boomstick asking where he put his keys, that was a funny line I guess. But I actually did enjoy Captain America's. They go into a lot of the cool and wacky shit he's done with some really solid jokes to round it all out. I didn't laugh at any of them, but they were still solid enough to where I had a good time with it. Then comes the fight, and I did not really like it very much. It's well animated, Molly's undeniably talented at what he does, but if episodes like She-Ra vs. Wonder Woman have shown me anything, it's that fluid animation can only get you so far if what actually happens in it isn't interesting. And Batman vs. Cap falls under that because the fight is so short that nothing interesting even has the chance to happen. From beginning to end, this animation is not even a minute and a half long, and with no voice acting to boot. So it's already put at a massive disadvantage in terms of standing out. I think there's the occasionally cool moment like Batman's eyes in the shadows, his use of stealth at the end is fitting, and I like how they work on the shock gloves to show that bit in the sidebar about how the shield doesn't conduct electricity. I also find some bits ironically funny, like Cap's grin when he throws the shield into the smoke like a fucking moron, as well as how silly this looks, but mostly this animation's just white noise. It's also another case of one character bodying the other until the end, though ironically enough Batman's on the receiving end this time. What else can I even bring up? Like I said before, Cap throwing his shield into the abyss was stupid. I don't like the death because I can't take it seriously. The sound effect when the batarangs hit the shield is a bit I don't know, I'm struggling to find anything to say about this fight other than how it's so bland and boring it would make Lex vs. Doom blush. I mean, I guess I can compare it to Beast vs. Goliath. A filler cape shit episode clearly made on a time crunch that's painfully short, has nothing of interest in it, and the death comes out of nowhere. I was gonna say without the character bastardization as well, but no, this does have no thoughts head empty Cap, as well as Batman cutting apart the corpse of a guy he just murdered without a second thought because he dared to show up in the same alley as him. 4 out of 10 I guess? Now there must be nowhere else to go but up from here.
Technically, if Goku could find a way to draw energy across multiverses, his spirit bomb could possibly achieve the kind of limitless power to match Superman. But even if he could, he never would wield it in the first place.
I need to stop jinxing myself. Batman vs. Black Panther has unfortunately continued the downward trend in quality for Batman's episodes, though the gap between this and the last one isn't nearly as wide as the gap between the first two. Starting with the analysis, there are no jokes I find funny. I guess I kinda like Boomstick saying,
"Those are my favorite types of arms!"
But the rest of it's just boring. I popped off for a member of the Black Order showing up, and I liked that they used that one clip of Batman and Green Lantern, but those are hardly qualities I can attribute to the writing. Except for when they mention Black Panther beating up all these A-list Marvel characters, and then capping it off with some no-name as if the casual audience is supposed to find that inherently more impressive. I found that really funny, and somehow I don't think I was supposed to. Admittedly, it goes into the characters' comic histories decently enough, and it shows off some cool gadgets for them, but a lot of Batman stuff is retreaded from his previous episodes, which just further shows that maybe this wasn't the best episode choice to do for the premiere of the season with the best overall selection of matchups in my opinion, though more on it being a premiere later. I think the analysis bringing up all these cool gadgets and such set the fight up for disappointment, because it hardly uses any of them. This is genuinely a worse example of just doing the bare minimum for a cape shit fight than something like Goku vs Superman 2. Batman uses his batarangs, a chain, some sleep darts, and funny clacker volley. and one of those wasn't even sent at T'Challa. Black Panther, on the other hand, uses his claws and nothing else. No energy daggers or spears, no teleportation, no hardened light shields, nothing. I don't even mind the lack of his King of the Dead or whatever powers like some people do. They don't bring them up in the analysis, so it's clear they aren't factoring those in since they're a completely different power set to his standard Black Panther stuff. But for them to bring up all these gadgets for both characters and then just have it come down to a martial arts fight with the occasional projectile, it's really disappointing. I wouldn't even mind as much if the martial arts part was actually good. But there's this really awful feeling of stiffness and jank the whole time. The characters just don't feel like they move naturally at some points, and a lot of it feels really slow. I know Bio has talent, but this is not his best work. There are points where Black Panther slashes at Batman and his claws somehow do no visible damage. Somehow less so than him just getting decked in the mouth. And sometimes there will be these really unnecessary effects on Batman's attacks. I understand having them on the impact, but on the motion of him throwing a punch or a batarang just looks weird, especially on the latter. There's this whole segment of the fight dedicated to them fighting zoo animals, and it kills the pacing. This is like that one bit in Frank vs. Leon, but at least that episode had more going on for me to still like it and find them fighting the zombies fun. This scene feels like a complete waste of time. I can appreciate it using the environment, but this definitely isn't the way to do it. I do like how it's used in the next scene though. Batman gets to an area before Black Panther does, and uses his prep time to rig explosives under the bridge they're on so that he falls into the water and dies to the orcas. And Black Panther using the rubble as a means to jump off and get back up is really cool. Then he turns into a panther for half a second for some reason, beats Batman to a pulp while really unnecessary voice clips play, and then decapitates him, which Boomstick praises as a new one, as if the last decapitation death was not 6 episodes ago. Maybe he's referring to the corpse being eaten by an orca, but I'd hardly count that as the actual death. Oh, and the less said about that other line in the conclusion, the better. Now, I don't want you to think I got nothing out of this fight, because I did still like some parts. The animation had its moments of fairly fluid and well done combat, namely whenever hits weren't actually being landed, because then we didn't have these slight pauses with every single attack making them lose their impact. I like Batman listening to J-pop at the start, that was kinda funny. Oh, fuck, that's it? What a shame. There was so much they could have done with this fight, but it's ended up joining Chun-Li vs. Mai in the how the fuck does this episode make me mind-numbingly bored while also making me strongly dislike it club. Not that this is quite as bad as that one, god no, but I'd still give it the same score of a 3 out of 10, just not quite as low of a 3. Unless something else jumps out when I binge the season for my remastered ranking, this remains the lowest point of season 5 for me, and it's one of my least favourite Marvel vs DC episodes, only beating out the worst rush job in the show and the one that made Boomstick into a sex pest. What an achievement. Yeah, even Batgirl vs Spider-Gwen beats this one out. It has a way worse animation, I don't think anyone's going to dispute that, but I can at least enjoy the analysis there. There are jokes I like, it covers the characters better, the editing's fantastic, I just generally like it more. Batman vs Black Panther's analysis makes the episode actively worse since it sets up so much potential that is never delivered on. I might honestly not have minded this as much if it wasn't the season premiere. This is what's meant to get people hyped for the rest of the year's episodes, and I think this does the worst job of them all. Samus vs Fett's obviously the worst made premiere, but I still like it way more since it being from season 1 gives it a lot of leeway for me. So is there any way this could have been fixed? Honestly, yeah, just replace it with either of the next 2 episodes in the season list. Raven vs Twilight's hardly the best episode out there, but the voice acting at least gives it some kind of an identity, something to stick with people other than, wait, why did they bring this guy back for a 3rd episode? Or go with Jotaro vs Kenshiro. It being 2 new series instead of more cape shit with a returning character would definitely let it stand out more. I don't like the Jotaro vs Kenshiro that we got, but maybe if it got moved to the premiere slot, it could have been given more attention and they could have done more with it. Then Batman vs Black Panther could have been a forgettable episode in the midst of the season, like Batman's last episode, rather than a disappointing way to kick it off. Speaking of disappointing, that's it. That's the whole video. For once, I had more bad to go over than good stuff, which is a shame. I think the only other video I've done like that for this show is Blake vs Mikas's review where I tackled all the Ruby episodes. Funnily enough, I gave the same set of scores for both trilogies, an 8, a 4 and a 3. But honestly, it's been kinda sad watching Batman's gradual descent in episode quality. For the 2nd or 3rd most iconic character in all of comics to only have 1 real hit out of 3, it just doesn't feel right. If you like these episodes, all the more power to you, I just don't, unfortunately. I don't have a highlight reel to fall back on for this one, but I will leave off on a hopeful note about Batman vs Iron Man. Talking about it with Nem has filled both of our heads with possibilities for the episode, and seeing the amount of discussion sparked over it has given me hope we'll have a really solid episode on our hands. Although Nem's in the exact same mindset that I was in for Lex vs Doom, and we all know how that turned out for me, but hopefully that one was a fluke and this time it'll actually pay off. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Doing more negative criticism isn't something I enjoy doing as much as talking about episodes I like, but if you got something out of it, then that's good, I guess. See you later down the line when I cover Batman vs Iron Man. Oh yeah, also Battle at the Zoo is mid as fuck.